Good day, Padraig. Nice to see you again. And thank you for joining me in this session. And what's on your heart and mind today?
Hi, John. Nice to meet you again. Yesterday I was at work and I got very frustrated and I said, I can't do these things wrong. I can do things wrong. Again, like nothing's working out for me again. Nothing ever works out for me just because one thing went wrong for me with the price tags.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, this always happens to me. Nothing ever works out for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Wow, that's a very frustrating moment. And tell me, Padraig, how long did you live with that?
I actually lived with it only for about 5 minutes, like maybe not even 3 minutes. No, 3 minutes or something. That's the longest I thought about it, which was good for me because before I get locked up on that for the day, I could be thinking about that for the whole day. And this time was only 3 or 4 minutes. I was in my mind and I was thinking what people are going to think of me. I'm yelling in front of the customers and I sweared.
So did this line of thinking happen to you regularly, seldom, often?
It used to happen way more regularly, but it does happen from time to time now.
Uh-huh. Okay.
It's usually internal more than external, but it does externalize itself sometimes.
Yeah, of course. And what do you think that does to the quality of life when you're having that kind of hard conversation with yourself?
It diminishes my usefulness to other people and to myself in that moment.
Yeah.
It just leads to frustration and agitation and
Right. So you see the connectedness of that thought, responding to that thought, to other thoughts and other feelings that are negatively affect your life.
yes, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's almost like everything's connected like a string of pearls, doesn't it?
it is. Yes,
Yeah.
I agree with what you said there. That's the nice way to put it. That's the way I understand it.
Yeah. So what comes across as a 3-minute kind of ordeal when you harshly talk to yourself and you become judgmental and critical is that it's like a ripples in the water after a stone is thrown in it. It just keeps expanding out in different areas, even to a point of being unconsciously diminished by that original thought. And so what happens, Padraig, in this case, that first of all, it's temporary. We all know that. It's a human condition. It's not just happening to you. And it is a reaction to something that's called automaticity. So you're being triggered in a certain way that you're not even thinking about anymore. You get into this negative self-talk without even choosing to get into that self-talk. It just occurs. Would you say that's true?
I would definitely agree with that, Jack. Because something I've been practically used to doing for a long time. But I've been breaking it slowly, but it does occur. It's in my occurring, yes.
Yeah. So we begin to see that something so slight or small is talking to yourself harshly. But then we begin to see the larger magnitude of that, which really determines the kinds of behaviors you're having, as also the kinds of thoughts and feelings that cycle through you. So we want to just get hold of that and begin to understand the ramifications of the consequences of engaging in such thoughts. And once we're clear about that, we begin to see that this is not something we want to engage in. Now, you can't prevent it from happening because it's a belief that it's been long held. And what happens is that it's not going to go away, probably. But what we want to do is disturb it. We want to slow it down. We want to be able to pause and say to ourselves, okay, what can I learn from this experience? Have you ever done that?
Yes, I've actually done that as from our previous lessons. We learned about like to say to yourself, this happens to everybody. I'm not alone here.
Yeah.
Every single human's been through this, and I've seen it actually in the workplace as well, where this has happened. People have gotten frustrated. And it gives me a sense of relief that I'm not alone.
Yes.
I started thinking about that, and that's actually actually being able to fix the problem rather than engaging in the negative self-talk. And it did happen. That did happen yesterday afterwards.
Excellent, excellent. So we begin to see there's two sides of this thing. There's a kinds of things that we can do by engaging in the negative self-talk, the judgment, the self-judgment, or there's an empowering conversation where we can then to expand on self-acceptance and self-compassion. And that side of the ledger, what's required of us is, first of all, that we say something to ourselves that's comforting. It's okay to think that way. I can certainly understand how Padraig is thinking that way. And in some sort of form of gentleness or self-kindness that needs to be expressed. One of the things I thought really works well for me is the touch. I rub the back of my neck with my hand like you would cradle a baby, or I rub my forearm, and the body responds to that kind of physical self-compassion. Now, what we also can learn is self-care is the manifestation of self-compassion. So what we want to do is put something in place for us to feel the self-compassion. And as I suggested, a little simple exercise of touch and let yourself know that it's okay you're feeling that way. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I've done grounding a lot. I can feel from my feet are touching the ground. I can feel the shoes, and I can feel the socks, and I can feel the heat from the hot counter, and the compassion, as you said, there comes in definitely. Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah.
it's unconscious. We talked about this about how would you treat someone else in this situation, and talk to yourself that way.
Yes.
And the breathing would be a form of self care as well.
It would
Breathing
be.
in
Yeah.
slowly and
Yeah. It's so good. So here we are in this moment of choice. We go to take the disempowering way or take the empowering way. The empowering way is about understanding self-love, self-compassion, self-acceptance, and a degree of understanding. And we say things to ourselves that, you are enough. People often makes mistakes in their thinking, and everybody thinks crazy thoughts at different times. So it's simply okay. Then we want to take it just one step further and ask ourselves, what can I learn about this situation? What can I learn something about me that I can see that I could improve upon by some practice? When I hear you tell your story, what I'm hearing is something impatient. There's almost some perfectionism in that. There's some all or nothing thinking that things should go your way all the time. That's what I hear. Does any of that resonate with you?
yes, definitely. Yes, I always have that. Sometimes I should watch my wording there, but at times I have that type of thinking. Yes, that I need to all or nothing thinking.
Yeah.
Things should go a certain way because things are supposed to go a certain way. I agree with you there. Everything you said there.
Yeah. So here we are. We have this expectation or this anticipation of what things should look like for us, which is unconsciously set up, by the way. We didn't physically to choose to set up a standard like this, but we're heavily influenced in perfectionism and all or nothing thinking. Then when we don't meet that criteria, when things don't go our way, we fall into a disempowering ways of thinking and feeling. And this happens in a flash. It doesn't, it just happens. So we want to be able to check in with our perfectionism and dial it down and remind ourselves that we are human and that things are not always going to go our way. And how we can meet with that is through some increased tolerance or patience. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that would be that's the way to go forward. And I have experienced that. Just putting it into practice, and to just always put these exercises into practice is the main thing here when these
Yeah,
situations arise, and
yeah.
to further plan for down the road when it happens again.
Okay, great.
To have,
It's almost as if we could reduce the expectation of perfectionism, and we won't, not only we will not engage with those thoughts will not appear. Because if we're able to accept the conditions in which we're meeting at the time, there is no underbelly of negative thinking or self-judgment. You get that?
yes, I do. Yeah,
It's almost like a medicine of prevention. rather than trying to control your negative thinking, which never works, by the way.
No,
So,
it's yeah, it's for
yeah, good. Excellent.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for the ideas when I put them into practice.
So here we are. So what do we need to do? You mentioned a couple of very important things about being grounded, and you're explaining about having a body scan done. And the reason why you're doing that and you're breathing is to bring you into the present moment. So I
That's
want you
correct.
to, I want you to think about your automatic responses. Nothing ever goes right for me anytime. That all comes from the past. Those are learned experiences and conditions in which you grew up and in which you've entertained as an adult. But if you're living in the present moment, none of that really becomes to bear because you're living in the present moment. You're not looking towards the past. So when you're body scanning yourself, touching your feet, feeling your feet touch the ground and socks and feeling your breathing, what you're actually doing is letting go of the past. And all that's left for you is now. And now in that experience could say, okay, I have a choice here. I'm going to choose the empowering, or sometimes you'll even choose the disempowering. But the beauty of what I'm just saying to you is that now you choose, you're not a victim of automation. If you choose to engage in the negative thinking, you own it now. It just doesn't happen blindly to you. Or ideally, what we want to do is choose the more empowering way to live. Now, this works with the situation that we talked about today is something that's really maybe insignificant because after all, it only happens for 3 minutes. Although what we don't know is the rippling effect, how that expands out into your everyday life. But what we're doing now is practicing something that will help us thrive and be fully self-expressed in the moment in which we are living. What do you think of that, Padraig?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea and something to do because we bring so much of our past. I bring so much of my past around with me, and I never looked at it that way. That if I'm doing these grounding techniques, that it would actually bring me back into the present. I did see it that way, but I don't. Sometimes I need to clarify. You need to clarify that to me, and you have done it to me there. Clarify that to me. That brings me back into the present, and the past is irrelevant
Yes, yes.
moment, and gives me more power to move forward.
If we were to leave it like as we just discussed here, all this would be is a good idea, right?
Correct. Yes.
What's required now is a plan of action. And what I mean by the plan of action is a very specific action you can be taking within the next 24 hours to able to overcome these tendencies to self-judgment and negative thinking. We create that plan together?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So tell me what you think would be a good plan of action to increase your tolerance, self-love, kindness, and compassion towards yourself in moments of, oh, I don't know, of negative reactions, say.
One thought comes to my mind is like just focus on what did happen that happened good that day. Like not good, but what went right that day. Focus on one aspect that went right. Not
Okay.
get focused on the one area that
Okay.
didn't.
So the anchor is the trigger, right? Now you've anchored, you're about to engage in negative thinking. And what you reach for now is what went right that day. Or could we even say that a piece of gratitude?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now we have a disruptive way of not engaging automatically with the negative and disempowering way. You are triggered to think negatively about yourself and self-judgment, harsh self-judgment. That's going to say you're automatically then going to do a gratitude piece. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Ex-
So what happens now if you get pulled back into, because this is what happens. These habits are so well ingrained in us that they won't let us go. They want to draw us into the experience in which you know so very well, and it may be that you're even comfortable with. So it's like a vortex is pulling you back. If that were to occur to you, what could you say to yourself?
Say, okay, I've been here before many times, and I know you, and I understand. I've been here before with you, and I understand what you're going through. And but thank you, but I'm not going to entertain you right now, and I'm going to put you to the side, and I'm not going
Perfect,
to listen to you.
perfect, perfect. So, and then you'll continue with the gratitude piece or find another piece of being grateful for.
Like experimental gratitude, like which is powerful in these situations.
Yeah, so let's just share a little bit about that for a moment. There's two kinds of gratitude. One is called rational gratitude, where what we do is make a list of things to be grateful for. So it's very cognitive, it's very in the head kinds of experience. Now, it's a good thing, by the way, it's not a bad thing. So it's a great start in experiencing gratitude is this what they call rational gratitude. But there is a second kind of gratitude, which is much more powerful, and that's experiential gratitude. And just to explain it quickly, it's about reliving the experience of being grateful. So you allow your heart space to allow yourself to feel what it's like to be grateful for that particular thing. And what you're doing is resurrecting all these good feelings that you have as a result of that one piece of gratitude. And that's called experiential gratitude. So that's great. So you're going to not only express gratitude, you're going to do some experiential gratitude. And if you have to get pulled back by these thoughts, you're going to say, thank you very much. I know who you are. You're not going to determine the way in which I behave or act or think. I'm going to ask you to sit over here. And I am now going to have another experiential gratitude.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's
Now, I'd like you to move down 30 days from today. And you've been practicing this maybe once, twice, three times a day. And knowing full well you missed other opportunities because we're not going to be perfect at this. But there is progress. There is a sense of accomplishment. There is a sense of delighting in the success that you're having and a sense of awe of living in this experience. So I want you to imagine, Padraig, 30 days from now, after practicing this thing maybe 50, 100 times for the month, what would your life be like for you? What would you be free from?
I'd be free from the drama and the mind that that creates the story,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
be able to handle that situation in a
yeah,
more in a positive or more grounded way, in a more practical way.
yeah, yeah. And what would that do for your self-confidence?
Oh, it would drive it through the roof.
Yeah.
Definitely have self confidence. Yeah,
And
and
what would that do with the connectedness to other people?
that would improve it immensely. Yes, I would be more connected to people. Yes, to
Yes.
the world,
Yeah,
and people I work with.
yeah. Just to interject here, when we're in our minds judging ourselves and talking to ourselves harshly, we're actually in a space of isolation. There's no desire to connect to other people. We're trying to sort it through rumination and the likes of that, trying to suppress it or avoiding it. So we become self-absorbed in that moment and we lose the ability to connect with other people, even though it might be temporary, but it's lost. Good for you. Good for you.
But I
And tell me,
actually shared something with you there about something that did happen after that. There was a lady. Can I share about this?
sure, yeah, please.
There's another lady that she was working with, and she was under pressure in another section of the shop, in my section, and she was going through the same thing. And I was able to tell her that I understand what she's going through, and I
Uh,
was able to share my experience with her.
oh,
I was
that's
able to listen
interesting.
to her.
So you was some empathy and compassion for other people in that moment.
Correct. And I was able to listen.
And you're able to listen and to share. Oh, that's beautiful. That's so
It
beautiful.
is. It felt so connected, connects you to someone too. To that helped that person.
So could you see, Padraig, by practicing this for 30 days, what the cost of it would be?
Yeah, I can visualize the cost of it. Yeah, to visualize I could visualize that. Yes,
And what would the cost be?
happiness, confidence, learning to grow, and learning new ideas and how to handle these situations.
Okay, they sound like benefits to me. So there's a cost benefit relationship. So what I'm asking you is, what is it going to cost you to do this? What is the price you're going to pay to do this? For instance, one is deliverance, to be intended, to keep track of, to organize and invest in yourself, how you're going to deal with it in words. These are all costs that is not just going to happen automatically. See, this is the myth that we have. Just because we think we know something, how to handle it, we go through our day thinking that's enough, and it isn't. It requires a personal investment in ourselves. So I'd like you to think about and consider what those costs will be for you.
Like the action to take, the plan of action to take.
Yeah, so for instance, in order to do a certain action, there's certain preparation that comes before the action.
Correct. You
Yeah.
write out a plan of action.
Yeah. So that's the cost. The benefit is be able to regulate your self-judgment, negative thinking, and to choose to use the empowering side of self-acceptance, self-compassion, understanding, and kindness towards yourself. The benefit of it is just absolutely huge. You will change the whole dynamic and how you live by simply practicing this piece.
Correct. Yes, they're the words I was looking for.
Excellent. So is there anything else you'd like to add here?
So I'd be consistently doing this, and it gets the more being consistently doing this, the easier it gets.
Yes.
It's the consistency that it's easy to let up on it, and then just to go back into the old routine again, and I have to come back out of that again and start again.
Yeah.
And to expect that,
Yeah.
and then to accept it lightly and move on from it again and move on to the goal.
You brought up a very important piece here, and that has to do with where our attention goes and where we lose focus. And what can we do to help us maintain the focus of change? So the first thing is we got to be in a conversation with other people about the specific change. And we want to be able to share ourselves of our practices in which we're doing, which increases our ability to focus. This is why Freedom Hour is so very important to people, because we are that conversation. If you're looking to get free from negative thinking and self-judgment, you need to be practicing like you're doing here and have being held accountable to see how you're doing and if you're moving forward, and to encourage you until you succeed. Excuse me. The other important thing here is the brain has this ability, and it's called neuroplasticity. So what that means simply is this: you can install a new habit, and the brain will actually wire together, so it becomes now the dominant and reliable way of thinking. But that takes time. But there's hope in that because it can happen. So instead of having to deliberately think about it, you'll have what is called unconscious competency. It will just happen automatically. So when you get triggered, what you get is that self-acceptance, empowering, self-compassion, understand, kindness, and gentleness way of dealing with yourself. How does that sound to you?
That sounds like a promise. Definitely, yes.
Okay.
I would look forward to having that in my life, as it would be a good way to live.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for joining me today. I'm real happy to hear how you're progressing in your new practice, Padraig.
Thank you. I'm glad to meet you too, and glad we had this meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
They may have noticed the scripting that goes on in this conversation where we identify a challenge or an obstacle in the way. We investigate it, learn what the habits, if you like, the automaticity side, and we begin to see the consequence. And the more familiar we are with the more likely we're going to draw them. This is the beauty of this kind of conversation, where it really has purpose, the purpose of which is negative habits that we've gotten ourselves into, whatever. And by doing that, we then begin to start using our mind, our logic, our reason. Start to say, do I really want to why? And oftentimes we do because there's no alternative for us to engage in another way. So now we've exposed the habit, the feelings around, and about the possibility that ripple throughout our whole life, which has a direct effect on our well-being. So now we've created a plan of action. So knowing it, we have to have a deliberate and specific plan of action, which has to help Padraig to practice in life and for him to get into the action of practice. And this is all about experiential work. And I will check in with him and he will check in with me about his progress. And this is what we do. We have a coaching, we have courses, and we have it. So if you're interested in having a conversation about it, just look down below in the description. You can see how you can reach me, or you can get into my calendar to have. I would really enjoy it. Okay, best wishes to you. God bless.